News. I'm Madhuri Pednekar, your host for the broadcast and the conference producer at News. This is a recorded session and will be available on our website, cionews.co.in, and on our CIO News LinkedIn handle. This is an exclusive fireside chat powered by Avaya on transformation through customer experience. Businesses are built by the experiences they provide, and every day, millions of those experiences are delivered by Avaya. Avaya is shaping what's next for the future of work with innovation and partnership that delivers game-changing business benefits. Let's dive in and let me introduce my guest for today. He has more than 17 years of experience in managing various databases and ERP solutions, experienced in architecting database and IT solutions for applications and ERP implementations, and in providing DR for mission critical applications using SAN and host-based solutions for both synchronous and asynchronous data replications. His specialties being database architecture and administration, hardware and software procurement, hardware architecture for applications and ERP solutions. Please welcome Mr. Deepu George. He's a Senior Director IT at Capgemini. Sir, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
So along with me, we also have Mr. Gavin Rodrigues. He's a domain specialist across Avaya's contact center and workforce optimization solution, and also our moderator for today's session. Gavin
Hello,
is
Gavin.
also an experienced workforce management specialist with demonstrated history of working in the outsourcing offshoring industry. Welcome, Gavin.
Thanks, Madhuri, and a warm welcome to Mr. George. All right, I think let's begin off wonderful experience, Mr. George, that Madhuri just talked about. And I was just wondering, in these times, a lot of customers are looking at leveraging digital channels today, right? So let's try and link the digital channels along with customer experience. So with Capgemini, how are you basically leveraging digital channels to actually improve customer experience? If you can just throw some light around that, sir.
Yeah, sure. So basically, you should understand that I am from the group IT side of Capgemini. So our
Okay,
customer is the employees or the employees of Capgemini. Okay, so we have around,
nice.
which is a large employee base. If you look at we have around 300,000 employees. So
Hmm.
from a customer point of view, it is a very large base. Okay, so given the current scenario of the pandemic and everything, so digital channels are one of the key enablers of the work from home and supporting of the employees. So if you look at the pandemic started around 1.5 years back, there was a sudden stop in office commute and everything, and it was very difficult for the support staff to augment their staffing because you couldn't go to the office, and in order to set up the work from home, it took time. So one of the key channels which we were using was the bot. Okay, so we had invested in a bot platform around a year back,
Hmm.
and we were in the process of implementing it. And to just give you some numbers around it, we were uh, per month, we were looking at around 15,000 to 20,000 interactions on various customers, various
Right.
employees, from various employees on different requirements and stuff like that. When the pandemic started, the increase in that interactions were multifold. It was like 20 times. So
Hmm.
we went from some 25,000 to currently we are supporting around 250,000 interactions per month, and
Right.
with a huge amount of accuracy. Like if you look at it, we are touching close to 93% accuracy on our interactions.
Hmm.
So that was one of the key success stories or key focus areas of a digital channel, which came into help in this particular times. So
Right.
another one which you guys will, almost all of us are using our current mode of communication, our the video conferencing channels, the
Right.
audio conferencing channels, etc. So that has been our experience. So if you ask me which one has been the most important one,
Hmm.
I would say that it has been the service bot, if
Okay.
you ask me, because other things which are already there, it was not, might not have been used that much, but this was a lifesaver for us, if you ask me.
Perfect. So you mentioned about the surge in volume. So with surge in volume, how was the experience to the employees? Did you actually go ahead and measure that? Were they happy with what they were seeing? If you can just throw some light around that as well.
Yeah, so if you look at the volume surge, right? I mean, from an infra point of view, look at it anyway. It was a cloud bot, so
Hmm.
it was able to scale from that particular scalability was not an issue. But
Okay.
one of the key things was that when you look for a bot or look for a bot implementation, it
Hmm.
is as good as the response which it provides, right? So it should be context aware. There should be some kind of an artificial intelligence capability
Hmm.
where it can look at the past interactions and see what is the context of this particular question, and then respond to it. And to make matters a little bit difficult for us, Capgemini is there in multiple geographies, and we have our employees are from different cultures
Right.
and language, and plus language also, so they like to chat in their own respective languages.
Hmm.
So we enabled use the NLP features.
Okay.
One of the key features was the language recognition. And if you look at it, how it will translate it, right? It should just translate on the fly. So all those capabilities were provided, and those were some of the features. I mean, I don't know whether it was a anticipation or I mean, we might have been lucky for us. We implemented it just before the pandemic hit us. Okay, so
Oh,
it
so
was
you
it
were
was
well
like
planned, basically.
it, I can't say it was well planned, but it was a feature which we implemented around 2-3 months back, and it
Okay.
was one of the
Okay.
it was a roadmap for us from the bot development point of view. So it
Right.
came in very handy for us. So, and one more thing is that, like, when you look at, so unless and until the responses are accurate, right,
Hmm.
the users will not use it. So that is one thing. So if you are asking a particular question and you get a stupid response, then people will not use it, and he will directly call the service center or the
Okay.
customer support. So what we did was we used the analytic and the AI capabilities of the
Hmm.
platform, and it was able to give us the context awareness, and to tweak the questions and analysis on what are the failed responses. That is the main thing. So
Okay.
how do you rectify these problems? So
Hmm.
unless and until you can analyze the interactions and find out where it failed and what is the cause of that particular failure, you cannot improve the responses. So
Absolutely.
from a
Yeah.
platform perspective, it had those features, so it helped us in delivering those.
Perfect. And since you deployed this quite quickly, was this a cloud deployment? And
It was a cloud deployment. It
okay.
was a cloud
Okay.
deployment. Yeah.
So, were you already planning to do these applications, or maybe the applications that the employee day to day use? Do you wanted to migrate them to the cloud previous to pandemic, or do you think the pandemic
It,
it
wa-
just
it
got accelerated?
as I told you, it was already in the roadmap. So it was some of the
Okay.
we had already migrated our service ITSM system to the cloud.
Right.
We had taken a SaaS user SaaS provider for that. So
Hmm.
basically, the as far as any organization is concerned, there will be a roadmap for cloud adoption. So it is part of
Okay.
our cloud, and in order to enhance the customer experience and have a very optimized workforce, bot was one of the. We wanted the bot to be the first point of interaction for any employee. So
Right.
it makes things very easy for us.
Sure. So, what are the factors that you kept in mind when you started planning your migration of applications to the cloud? Were there any specific list of things that you thought?
So, see, basically, if you look at cloud migration, right? I mean, cloud has been there for a long time now. It is a
Right.
mature, system from that particular perspective. So, we never look at a lift and shift
Hmm.
from that perspective. We don't lift everything and anything into the cloud. So we look at whether it is, I mean, it gels with our roadmap,
Okay.
and whether it gels with our strategy for moving to the. And we have a lot of privacy concerns and other things. So it is not that we take a decision and one fine morning, so we adopt the cloud or move to the
Hmm.
cloud. So there are a lot of considerations we look into before we take a decision. So there are a lot of privacy concerns and all those things. Since we are a multinational company, we have to go through
Right.
all those things. So uh, it takes a little bit of time for us, but yeah, it is an ongoing journey for us.
Sure. And you
And
talked about being multilingual, multi-location, multi-geo, right? So, from the standpoint of productivity across the globe, I mean, wherever you've been installing all the applications, was there a challenge around productivity measurement? Because we've been speaking to other customers and they've come back saying that we are looking for productivity solutions. So how did you deal with this particular case?
The productivity measurement, I mean, there are two different facets to that particular point. I mean, so basically, there are, again, if you look at the multi-cultural workforce, right, there are certain places we will not be able to do those because of high
Correct.
level of privacy concerns. India might not be a problem because we don't have that level of privacy concerns. So, as a rule, we don't generally, measure that in terms of how many hours a person is on the computer. I mean, and that uh, it doesn't give an indication whether he's productive or not. So basically, uh,
Hmm.
as most of the companies, we are into the agile methodology of delivery, and as long as the people meet those their deliveries, I don't think there should be any kind of hard and fast measurement per se. But I
Okay.
might be, I mean, so since I am from the group IT, at least in our case, we have not measured. So I'm not sure about, the other parts of the company where there
Right.
could be some requirement which they are using it. But generally, we
Sure.
don't. I mean, at least from a group IT standpoint.
Perfect. I think that's not a priority, or maybe that's not a criteria that you as an organization have taken it forward on the productivity front. But how about compliance and data security? So, were there any applications that you got implemented during the pandemic, or did you explore new solutions that could help you maintain maybe compliance or maybe data security from working with
So,
home?
yeah, so basically, if you look at it, some of the changes which are, so I can't say that these changes have happened because of the pandemic.
Hmm.
There were certain, we moved from a traditional antivirus and compliance software to EDR and those kind of, but those are part of the modernization journey. It is not
Right.
anything specific to a pandemic. So from that particular perspective, of course, when you look at your 80 to 90, 95% of people working from home with an open internet,
Hmm.
there will be, issues with security, and that is a primary focus area. So from that perspective, the modern tools like the modern EDRs, which are cloud based,
Hmm.
and which will ensure that since the delivery of the software updates and patches and everything is from the cloud directly, it is much more easy for us to comply with the security on from an endpoint perspective. And
Okay.
plus, before that itself, we had a NAC solution which was implemented. So which does a posture check and the things before it connects to our corporate network, if and when they connect. So
Right.
those were already there in place. So it was just a matter of ramping up because of the number of users using the internet and coming to the users, coming to the office, connecting to the office through the VPNs and all those things increased.
Right.
So there were some capacity additions which were required, but that is okay. That is well managed.
Right. So that from a infrastructure standpoint, probably, as you rightly mentioned, that you had to add on hardware, you had to basically bulk it up with people moving at home, right? How about the environment? So, for example, if your organization is delivering a financial services kind of a setup as a business being delivered out of work at home model, how did you take care of the environment? Because I know desktops are taken care of. Nobody can basically take away the data from that particular desktop. But what happens to pieces where people could just take their mobile phone and snap something or custom critical data, right? So, was there any measures put in place on that particular front?
Uh, I mean, a mobile, if you ask that particular question, I don't think I mean, you can control that
Yeah,
particular piece.
that's
But
that's where
otherwise,
I've
if you
seen a
look,
lot of challenges. Yeah.
yeah. So essentially, I think those kind of things are more or less on the social side of it, where you have to make people aware of stuff. But certain specific solutions we used, our traditional VDI solutions, etc.,
Hmm.
where we didn't give a direct access to the finance, the customer environment. We connect over to the VDI and then get into the customer environment. So those things were protected, but those things were already there in at least in some parts, because there were instances where people were supporting these customers after office hours. So it was
Right.
not. It is just, that's what I said. It's just a matter of the number of users who are going to use these environments increased. That's the
Mhm.
only thing.
All right, perfect. And towards the end, since you talked about your organization driving a lot of employee-centric activities, uh, do you see work at home, how has been the morale across employees today? Starting with your own team, I mean, you've been managing a large team within the organization. So with work at home, has things boosted their morale, or they're getting demotivated? Just a thought from your
So
end.
from an infra point of view, you ask me, the amount of free time has reduced actually. If you look at it, I mean,
Okay,
at least in the initial period, now it has
right.
stabilized. But because of the a huge amount of work which was involved to support this 300,000 users,
Hmm.
working from home, so we keep we have from a moral perspective, it is very difficult. If you look at, I mean, if you don't see people, and
True.
and added to that, it was like, you're confined, right? So
Hmm.
working from home is something different, and confined and working at home is different. So that is what the challenge has been. But then we
Absolutely.
had a lot of employee connects and other initiatives which were planned by our internal HR
Hmm.
teams, in order to keep the morale high. So we had regular connects, we had regular meetings. We even had our offsite over video
Wow.
conference. So
Okay.
then there are also a lot of initiatives, like a virtual lunch or a virtual dinner, and virtual
Right.
coffee, those kind of stuff. So
True.
I
True.
mean,
And
so there will be some kind of a issues with or challenges regarding the boosting the morale, but
mhm.
uh, uh, you know I think we managed it well, I suppose.
Okay. Great. Awesome. One last question, sir, just came to my mind. How about onboarding new employees? I mean, was that a challenge during the pandemic? Because training new employees, since there was no mentor, right, with work at home, how did you manage that piece?
So yeah, we had a lot of people joining us also. So I think the HR came out with some virtual onboarding process. I mean, very soon, and uh, I think it was all done virtually. So
Hmm.
there were teams which were formed in order to make sure that the onboarding is seamless.
Right.
And finally, once the laptop, everything is ready, I think they had to move to the nearest office and pick it up. So
Okay.
there were, I mean, outside of India, I suppose they had deliveries also done directly.
Hmm.
But I mean, this is what I'm aware of as of now. But there
Okay.
could be some changes or differences.
No worries. I went through the same process. I also
Yeah.
had to go and pick it up, being in India,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Really insightful discussion today. Uh, Thanks for sharing your organization's insight in terms of the pandemic and how you had planned well ahead of pandemic to basically move a lot of stuff to the cloud and also proactive measures on the HR front. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah,
Have a
sure.
good day.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you too.
Um, Thank you, Mr. George, for joining us today.
Uh,
Really great insights. And thank you, Gavin, for moderating the entire session. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.